growing beauty brands, was born not in Mumbai or Bangalore, but in Jaipur. Not with flashy marketing or Bollywood stars, but with just 1,000 bottles and a radical idea during the middle of a pandemic. This isn't just the story of skincare, it's a story about spotting a flaw in a giant industry, listening to the whispers of a new generation of customers, and having the courage to build something completely different. This is the story of Minimalist, a brand that went from a few bottles on a shelf to being valued at nearly 3,000 crore rupees in just 4 years. The founder's genesis and early failures. Behind every Rocketship startup, there's a launch pad of failures. And for Mohit and Rahul Yadav, the brothers behind Minimalist, failure wasn't a dead end, it was a training ground. Rahul, an IIT graduate, and Mohit, a chartered accountant, were never accidental founders. They were builders by design. Their entrepreneurial journey started long before skincare entered the picture. They built Scopial Fashions, a clothing startup. They tried Mango Street, an e-commerce platform for kidswear, which actually got acquired. They worked inside giants like Cardeco, learning how digital-first businesses scale from the inside. By the time they reached their mid-30s, they had seen both sides of entrepreneurship, the chaos of bootstrapping and the discipline of structured growth. Then came Freewill in 2018, their first real attempt in the beauty space. Freewill promised personalized hair care, custom formulations designed for each individual customer. The idea was genius. No two shampoos were the same. On paper, it looked like the future. But here's the problem. Scaling personalization is a nightmare. Imagine designing a unique bottle for every new customer at scale. It's slow, it's expensive, and it kills margins. Freewill taught them two priceless lessons. Indian consumers are smarter than brands assume. They don't just want gimmicks, they want results. Disruption isn't always about adding complexity. Sometimes it's about removing fluff and going back to basics. That failure wasn't a loss. It was their real-world MBA, a crash course that set the stage for Minimalist. The pandemic pivot. Fast forward to 2020. The world shut down. Stores closed. Celebrities stopped shooting ads. The entire beauty industry froze. But in that silence, something new was happening. A generation of consumers, Gen Z and young millennials, were online, researching, and asking new questions. What does niacinamide actually do for my skin? Why is this cream so expensive if it's just glycerin and perfume? What am I really putting on my face? These weren't passive shoppers. They were skintellectuals, people who wanted to understand the science, not just the story. This was the light bulb moment for Rahul and Mohit. What if they built a skincare brand that didn't hide behind jargon, but explained everything? What if they ditched glossy bottles and celebrity endorsements, and instead built a science-first, radically transparent brand? Minimalist was born on two principles: transparency, every ingredient, its concentration, and its purpose clearly explained. Efficacy, products that worked backed by real science, not marketing fluff. And so in Jaipur, far from the glitzy startup hubs, they rolled out their first 1,000 bottles of simple, active ingredient serums like niacinamide and vitamin C. Would people really care about pH levels and active percentages? Or was the Indian market too conditioned to Bollywood ads and fancy packaging? That was the gamble. Rocketship growth from 1,000 bottles to 100 crores? The answer came fast. Those 1,000 bottles sold out almost instantly. Minimalist wasn't just another skincare brand, it was a rebellion against everything customers hated about the industry. Instead of celebrities, they used real people and real reviews. Instead of confusing claims, they used data-driven content. Instead of glamour, they chose brutal honesty. On Instagram, their posts broke down skincare science like classroom lessons. Why niacinamide helps reduce acne, how vitamin C fights pigmentation, what percentage actually makes a difference. They weren't selling bottles. They were educating a generation, and it worked. By October 2020, they launched. By July 2021, barely 8 months later, they crossed 100 crore rupees in revenue in the middle of a global pandemic. To put that into perspective, brands spend years chasing those numbers. Minimalist sprinted past it on a wave of trust. And big investors noticed. Sequoia Capital and Unilever Ventures pumped $15 million into the brand in their Series A. It was a clear signal. This wasn't a fluke. This was the future of Indian beauty, scaling to a 3,000 crore valuation. Minimalist kept scaling at breakneck speed. FY 2022, 108 crore rupees. FY 2023, 184 crore rupees. FY 2024, 347 crore rupees. That's more than 3 times growth in just 2 years. But here's the kicker. Minimalist didn't stay a D2C darling. They expanded offline. Thousands of retail stores across India started stocking their bottles. And then came the ultimate validation, Hindustan Unilever Limited. In July 2025, Hindustan Unilever Limited struck a deal to acquire a majority stake in Minimalist at a jaw-dropping 2,955 crore valuation. Think about that. Just 4 years earlier, this was a company with 1,000 bottles in Jaipur. Now it was almost a 3,000 crore empire, standing shoulder to shoulder with global giants. The founder formula. So how did two brothers pull this off? 3 key things. Learn from failure. Freewill's collapse taught them more than any MBA ever could. Trust the consumer. They believed people were ready for honesty, not hype. Be radically simple. In a market obsessed with noise, they won with clarity. Minimalist didn't build a brand. They built a movement, a shift in how young Indians think about skincare. So, the big lesson? You don't need Bollywood stars, massive ad budgets, or fancy offices in Bangalore to build a 3,000 crore empire. You need a clear idea, an obsession with your values, and the guts to back your customers' intelligence. That's the minimalist playbook. Now, I want to ask you, what do you think is the single most important trait of a founder? Perseverance,